In the mid-90s, auto consumers were begging for something more. Automakers were getting creative by bringing back the past.
We had cars like the Plymouth Prowler, the Chevy HHR, Chevy SSR, Ford Thunderbird, Ford GT, but very few of them continued the trend after just one model year.
Yep, the Volkswagen Beetle. It started in 1930s Germany as Hitler's idea for a people's car, designed by Ferdinand Porsche after World War II. That little car refused to disappear. When it hit the US, Americans weren't impressed, until dealers got smart. Some pitched the Beetle as a cheap second car, even heavily discounting it when buyers purchased a Porsche or another upscale vehicle. Suddenly, the joke was on everyone else. By 1972, the Beetle became the best-selling car in the world, topping the Ford Model T. And decades later, Volkswagen brought it back. Modern tech, retro looks, proving the Beetle wasn't just a car, it was a comeback story.
Hello everyone and welcome to Performance on Wheels. My name is Todd. My son Austin and I, we make all sorts of videos on all sorts of different cars. We make videos on some of the baddest, funnest, fastest sports cars you can find on the market today. We even check out some old cars that are affordable. But today we check out some of the retro design cars. You guys have really been enjoying our older car series. You guys are liking them, you're commenting on them, but there's still 95% of you that are not hitting that subscribe button. So as we slide into some polyester pants, slick back our hair, and put on some sunshine of our life, hit that subscribe button. Being a car enthusiast, there are so many different cars that I feel like everyone has a story around. Being that over 21 million Beetles were sold, I think it's only fair that we share our Beetle story. Austin, what's yours?
I don't have one.
Okay, well that's good because I do. You actually can relate to this, believe it or not. My sister, your aunt, once won a Volkswagen Beetle. This was when they were reintroduced in 1998. The Kansas City Star, the newspaper of Kansas City, put out a promotion to try to spark up some attention to their failing newspaper. And after a month of running this promotion, they had people come in, my sister being one of the people that saw her name published in the paper and came in thinking there's no chance you could win a car. But only 6 other people showed up. They handed a bag out to all the people. Lo and behold, your aunt, my sister, had the key to a brand new Volkswagen Beetle.
And close to 20 years later, that design almost has not changed whatsoever. However, just like you said, almost everyone has a Beetle story. And as we just shared ours, I want you to share yours down in the comments below. Now let's get into this 2019 Beetle.
It was almost 20 years when the Beetle exited the United States and then made that triumphant return in 1998. And it was fairly well received the first handful of years. There were quite a few sales, almost peaking 100,000 year 1 or year 2 that it came back. But essentially from 1998 all the way to 2019, the final model year once again of the Volkswagen Beetle, there were declining sales.
And a big reason for those declining sales was quite frankly the lack of updates. Now see, its direct competitor, the Mini, continued to still look more modern while still having the exact same design that it's had since it came out essentially, and it also did the same on the interior. However, the Volkswagen Bug just continued to get delayed and delayed. Now the tech in the Bug is quite dated feeling for being a 2019, and the exterior design has already been out for quite a few years at this point, so its sales just continued to fall down as prices didn't decrease with them.
When the Beetle was originally released, it was supposed to be a reliable, practical, kind of simple car. So the lack of tech isn't surprising that even the modern day Beetle didn't have it, because it was carrying on the tradition that that original Beetle had. But one thing that it was lacking was the reliability. That original Beetle had a mere 25 horsepower, but it was all that was needed at the time. There was obviously a point in time when consumers wanted a little more power, and that increase was dramatic all the way up to 50 horsepower. After 65 years of production, the final year of the Beetle found itself with right around 175 horsepower, but it did not have the same reliability reputation that those original Beetles once had.
It did not, and that relates to both the engine and the transmission with this Beetle. Now, this is an Audi drive, 2-liter turbocharged inline 4, and it's not amazing.
Usually cars have 1 or 2 issues that they're known for that you can look out for. As an example, we've done some older Ford products that have an internal water pump, and essentially that was the only fail point of those motors. When you talk about the current TSI that's under the hood here, the fail points are multiple. It's the cooling system, it's carbon buildup, it's timing chain, it's the transmission. There are so many items that are known to fail that it really makes this quite a modern day nightmare.
Setting off in the VW Bug, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. She's not slow. She's got some get up and go, and that transmission is actually kind of fun. It's too bad there isn't any paddles or anything that makes it truly engaging other than screwing around with this little flappy paddle thing down here, which is just not that enjoyable by any means. So I do wish that there was some type of driver engagement that Volkswagen would give their customers at this point in time of Volkswagen's production. The fact that there was no manual option just offered in general is a little bit disappointing to me. But of course, this car isn't all about fun. It's about getting from point A to point B while looking relatively stylish. But I feel like when you have a car that you want that looks relatively stylish, you want it to be fun too. So you would think it's relatively good in the corners, but it's kind of front heavy. The steering's kind of light. I don't have a whole lot of feedback going through the front end of the car. It's very direct. I just don't have necessarily, I can't plant the car exactly where I want it. I can't feel the front end of the car. But besides that, besides it not being engaging to drive from an acceleration standpoint and it being fun to drive from a steering standpoint, it's really just a good economy car. If you drive it like it's something it's not, you're going to be disappointed. It's just not necessarily an engaging car. You can have fun with it, but it's not what the car necessarily feels like it wants to do. But from a daily driving perspective, this car is really comfortable and it feels huge. I got my seat down nice and low. I used to have a Fiat 500 Abarth, which is kind of in the same category as this, but this car feels a lot sportier from a driving position than the Abarth did. I can sit down nice and low. I can also get myself relatively high. Visibility is quite good all around. You have this massive window on the driver's side, so even blind spots aren't bad. You can just look over to the side. And it's, like I said, it's really comfortable. These seats are great. They're a little bit firm. However, they're just have that little small amount of cushion that I could easily do a road trip in. But this is a two-person road trip car for sure. If that's how quick the version with the most horsepower is, I can't imagine what that old 30 or even 50 horsepower model felt like. It doesn't have a whole lot of get up and go, but it's still enough to put a smile on your face for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And check out this one that we saw at a car show this year. Like, I think this is late 60s, but he strapped a Honda turbo to the back of it.
Yeah, a little VTEC swap.
And this is what makes the Beetle fun, is there's so many of them and so many iterations that people tied their own design and their own creativity into. That's what is kind of fun about this platform. And I love the fact that even the current day ones stayed true to that original design. I think that's fun. I hope automakers continue to do that as the future goes on. And so many people, even current day, brought the past back into it, from the Beetle being a rally car to a movie star car. Herbie, I think it was.
It was.
And then it was the hippie machine with flowers and peace and love all over it. So there's just so much history around this car. And for that, I do appreciate it.
But history aside, let's talk about the design of this thing, because it has stayed, like you just said, true to itself for so dang long, while still keeping a modern look to it, a modern twist. Very similar to the 911, but quite frankly, I think the 911 has done a little bit better job, but let's set that aside for a second. The front end of the Beetle, it looks pretty aerodynamic for its whole design that it has going on. We have really flattened and longed ourselves out, I should say, compared to the old models. We've gotten a lot longer opposed to the stubbiness. We've gotten a lot more flat versus the vertical, while still keeping the exact same design. And that roof line has gotten a bit more sloped and long, I should say, over the last few years. However, it keeps those unique fender arches in the body and the center of the fenders, which I have always thought is kind of a cool look. And it, quite frankly, kind of looks like a ladybug.
The one big difference from the 911 that Austin mentioned and the Beetles of the past are the fact that the old air-cooled motor is no longer in the back. It is just like most modern cars with a traditional motor up front.
Which also means that rather than it being rear-wheel drive, it's front-wheel drive, completely changing the driving dynamics, which could be a big reason as to why they lost a lot of their popularity, because it's just, quite frankly, not as fun to drive as the old one once was.
There is an element of fun and just kind of chipperness that comes over you when you get behind the wheel of a Volkswagen Beetle. Just the openness and kind of the more up and down windshield gives you just a different experience than a lot of vehicles can offer. The seats are comfortable, the sitting position is good. It is a kind of interesting experience because you have such dramatic headroom over you, and it ultimately it kind of puts a smile on your face because it is just slightly unique with its compact size. Speaking of compact size, as a 6 foot tall adult, keeping the front seat where I am comfortable, it is quite crammed back here, but I know I could go forward and actually be able to sit back here, but you do lose that headroom when you get into the back. My head is hitting the rear window hatch as I'm sitting here. But ultimately, I know I could put some miles on here. This vehicle is not about the rear seat, obviously. This is just a 1 or 2 person car that gets decent gas mileage and is just a fun little commuter around town. Thinking back to 1998 when the Volkswagen Beetle came out, one of those fun, cute elements that seemed to get a lot of press was the fact that you had a spot for a vase where you can put a flower.
The Volkswagen Beetle might have more history tied into its soul than any vehicle that we have ever reviewed before. Its longevity in life stretches a very long time, and we're also excited to say that it should be coming back here this year in 2026. However, completely dropping that front engine variant, and no, it's not going to be rear engine either, but we're going to be getting batteries down in the center. Now, I am a little bit disappointed to say that, but at the same time, I think electric cars fit for these small economy cars the most. They completely transform their acceleration, and they completely transform the way they handle putting all the weight down low, and they just make them really fun city cars. I do miss the sound. I love cramming gears, but it might be the best route for the Beetle if it's just going to keep getting an unreliable front-wheel drive powertrain like it has been.
Really enjoyed checking out the Beetle nameplate and the history behind it in today's video. Make sure you comment your Beetle story down below, and we will see you next time.